But the first thing that I want to say is I want to go with 3 premises about how good businesses run. And this is from the Lean movement that was started by the Japanese and Toyota, called the Toyota Production System. And they have 3 beliefs, and this has been modified. The first is that the customer comes first. Now, anyone who works in business goes, duh, but the customer comes first. But that's more than selling them stuff. What we sell our customers is not stuff. We sell our customers solutions. We sell them better ways to do things. So number 1, the customer comes first. I started working with a man named Carl Albrecht in the 80s who wrote a book called Service America, Doing Business in the New Service Economy. And that's one of the times we took a real leap forward to say that the customer comes first. So we're going to talk about products, which is what our customers get, and services, the way we deliver it to them. Why does our business exist? Walmart has a great saying. You know, whatever we think of Walmart as a company, they do an awful lot of things right. And what Walmart's purpose is to give ordinary folks the chance to buy the same things as rich people. So we've got our purpose, which is greater than what we do. We don't sell auto parts. What do we do? What value do we add? What benefits do we provide to our customers? There's always this discussion back and forth between family and teens. And what we find out is it really has to be a little bit of both. Families are more forgiving. Teams demand more focus on the outcome. So that we want to have an environment where we can have a family environment, and yet we're focused on the outcome. We're accountable. That's a key aspect of any company. We are accountable, and our people are accountable. There are some companies that let their employees see all the financials. That's your call. There's no right or wrong to this. It's what you are comfortable with. If you're comfortable doing that, that's fine. If you're not, that's fine too. But they want to know basically how a company is doing, and too often we never tell them the story. Hey, we're doing fine. Yeah, things are good. Well, they can see when people are getting terminated or people are getting hired. That's always a clue. So they want to know what's going on, and we have to find ways to tell them. But what we know is, because we have talented people now in our organizations, and if we don't, that's something to really think about. We have talented people, we want to have the most from them and give them the most back. So that it's a family environment or a team environment. You can choose whichever side of the ledger you want to fall. Think about your business. If you're starting a business, what is the purpose? Why are you starting this business? And let me say one thing about making money. Making money is not a goal or a mission. It's a requirement. It's real simple. If you don't make money, you're not going to be in business. I don't have to say anything more about it. Our goal is to make money. Well, duh, of course it is. Even for nonprofits, our goal is to make money so that we can open the doors. You've got to love what you do. Entrepreneurs have things that are really hard to define. Thick skin, persistence, bullheadedness, fill in whatever words that you want. You've got to love what you do, and if you don't love what you do, try and find something that you do, because you'll never be an effective and successful entrepreneur.
One of the other things that we do, or that I do, is when I have a client that likes what we've done for them, I'll say, if we did a good job for you, do you have any referrals that you can provide me? Any people you know that are running businesses we can help? And many times they'll say, you need to call this guy over here, you need to call this guy over here. Unless I had asked for that, that wouldn't happen.
It's easy to forget that.
That happened last night or the night before. I was at an opening of ribbon cutting, and I looked at this realtor and I said, "Who have you last sold your house to?" He said, I saw one last night, 5 bedrooms. I said, they may need closets, huh?
Hmm.
And he said, I think they may have, but you gotta call them. I called him right then and there. I said, do you have your closets all done? This guy, your realtor recommended me to you. He said, yeah, I do. I said, but you need a home theater system, don't you, in that 5-bedroom home? He says, I do. I said, when would you like me to come out there and see that? And he said, tomorrow. I said, 10 o'clock? Perfect, I'll be there.
That's very good.
And that's the way it went. But without asking,
That's right.
I would have walked right by that guy, and I would have missed a wonderful opportunity to get one of my businesses that I represent in that house.
When we talk about lean, one of the other leans today is just in time. And that's what you're fighting, and
Yeah.
it's happening in lots and lots of places. There's two guys that get rich out of that. One is Kelly at UPS, and the other guy's named Fred, and he's at Federal Express. They're the rich guys.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the rest of us are dying with just in time. And it's a tough shot. It's also changing dramatically how this country operates. There's some challenges when we talk about what's your product, okay? Well, it's great that we know what it is on the 20th of November. We better know what it's going to be on March the 5th and October the 8th of next year, because we got to be ready to get there and not only talk about what the product needs to be, but how we're going to get it to them. You know, what are all the logistics that are involved? It's the emerging economies have very different models, business models, than we grew up with and that we learned when we went to business schools. But there's one thing that's very transparent in all of it, is that we live in a digital society. If you don't understand digital, you've got enormous problems, right?
Exactly.
And it's not just the obvious kinds of stuff that we use email. It is the whole model of how we communicate with everybody in our audience. That's our team. We talked about team. We talk about who are our clients. How do we communicate with our clients? Do we send them a weekly update on what's going on? You know, all of it, just keep going down to the whole areas. And so in a digital society, the digital is the critical part of our word because it impacts everything we do with communications.
We talk about the customer comes first. And what's happening, what I've noticed, you know, the past 3 years, I've been in this country since 1970, I've been in the Air Force, and when I started selling my books, when I first came out of the Air Force, I had, you know, dreadlocks, and nobody would hire me because of my hair. So I had to, the question that came to mind was who called the first person in the plant and gave him a job. So I basically did what I loved, is writing, and I actually took the streets of New York City and sold my books. To date, I've sold over 20,000 copies of my books on my own, and I've never spent one dime advertising. But in the course of my life, what I found and understand is that the greatest resource on the planet is human resource. No matter how much money you have, no matter what your endeavor is, nobody gets rich by themselves. Absolutely nobody. So the human resource is the greatest resource. Now we're into a time when the human mind, the conscious, the evolution of human beings have reached a point now we're at a global mindset. So in everything, every endeavor that we do to be successful, we have to think global. You know, if you're not thinking global, you're not going to be successful in business in the next 5, 10 years. You're not going to be. Whatever your product is, however you try to reach, that has to be a global outreach.
I think for the last 10 years, people have moved away from even bothering to ask you where you are. Have you noticed that you'll get communications from people and they'll go do, boom, back, and nowhere in it is, hey, who are you and where are you? You know, to your point, RJ, is that we've all become very transparent. We've become digital personalities. And we live, unless we care to make it a part of our statement, we live in a global environment, and where that is not totally material to lots of people.
The president of the bank came to me and he said, "You've got to stop it." And I said, "What?" He said, "The mortar war." where people across the hall are lobbing mortars at each other via email. So we got everybody from around the country into the room twice this size and said, everybody bring your laptop. We took them all out of the room and said, talk. Talk to each other. You have a complaint? Tell me. And of course, it got a little itchy at the beginning, but then people started talking to each other, and then we put the telephone out and put it in the center of the table and said, this is better than email, and it all worked out. So every tool is a double-edged sword. Okay, so we talked, yes?
I just wanted to add one thing. One of the situations I find myself in is the baby boomer bulge. These baby boomers are looking to retire, and they were raised more in the end of the Victorian age, where it was manners and politeness, and you were a person of your word, and a handshake was all you needed. And how can you trust, if you don't trust people, then what kind of person are you? It's all about character. The children and the grandchildren that are now the entrepreneurs, and they're the ones that are going to be buying these businesses, and these older people are like, what do you mean I need a website?
What do you mean I need a contract?
What do you mean? Right, exactly.
What do you mean I need a computer?
Exactly. And what do you mean I need a POS system?
But in those businesses where they have to print out the emails, how successful are they? In today's age, you have to be digitally friendly, but the people, I guess the people in their 60s and 70s who are very successful can do whatever the hell they want because they have enough money to do so.
Not necessarily. They've just never done it any other
But they have
way.
people to do it for them then.
But it depends on the type of business. I mean, a lot of these small businesses are, small restaurants and have,
One of the chasms, now you're on to something very, very important. One of the chasms that happens is, I worked at IBM for X number of years, this is the model. And so I always had a secretary who did, and now I don't work at IBM anymore. Here's a problem,
right.
right? Now, IBM's not a great example because they really do force people to be somewhat digital. But you can take that model and run it back against General Motors and lots of other places. And that person who's now footloose in Florida, trying to start the next business or do whatever, and really doesn't understand much more than being able to do a simple email and be able to do some sort of a scan of the net. I mean, that's the end of their, capabilities.
Mhm.
And that person is a dinosaur.
They will
And-
continue to be a small business.
and getting smaller.
And get
But this is a good point. We can't serve those people typically in our businesses.
But realistically, if you want your business to grow, you have to be into the digital age. If you want to keep a small business and run it out of your home or run it out of your family restaurant, then that's where you're gonna stay. So in order to have these dreams, you have to grow. And growing is being a part of the digital age.
Yeah, suppose we only found 3 new clients for our auto parts on Facebook, because normally we would have thought, why would we be on Facebook? But if we found 3 new clients, that's 3 we didn't have. One of the things that we actually find is probably most missing from companies and organizations today is they don't have a digital communication system, not an email, not I thought of something, or a system, a whole process of being able to update my universe, all of my audience, on a regular, disciplined basis.
So, and there's a famous guy in Philadelphia named John Wanamaker who used to have the biggest department store, and he said 50% of advertising doesn't work. We just don't know which 50%.
Yeah, you heard it.
All right, very briefly on the money side, because I want to get to the value proposition that Arthur mentioned. I think it's always important to look at what percentage of your sales is made up by your primary products. You guys have a lot of products. Now you're focusing on fast movers, but how's your margin with your fast movers? Is it as good as it might be with something else? We have to look, and we invariably think, oh my God, this is selling. It's the classic, well, we're losing money, but we'll make it up in volume. Well, that just doesn't work.
Yeah, right.
All right, so look at your margins, look at your volume, what percentage does that make up? Now when you're starting up, you typically have one product, you probably have a couple, but still, where am I making my money? Cautionary tale about Apple, however. Steve Jobs was a genius, a real genius. He created markets out of blank space. You are not Steve Jobs. None of us in this room is Steve Jobs. Don't go around thinking that you've got a great idea that's going to create a market. He created a whole genre of products, but he created a system to sell them. That's what it was all about. He sold them. Don't think that you're going to have a great idea that nobody's ever had before that you can sell. I find too many entrepreneurs that wants to be the next Steve Jobs. We'd all like to be the next Steve Jobs, but we're not. So don't fall into the trap that I can sell that because it's so good. He was a genius. And final thing, first of all, on making money on your products. If you're not making money selling something, ask yourself, should I be selling this? Sometimes we have to sell the bagel to get the cream cheese sale. I understand that. But there are other times that we sell stuff that we don't make money on that we shouldn't be selling. Finally, just for my part, Arthur talked about the value proposition. That's why people buy from us. It's not typically just our product. It's our pricing, it's our customer relationships, it's our distribution channels. But think about what sets us apart from our competition. The purpose is, what can we do to attract more people to buy our product, to continually buy our product, and become a permanent customer on our customer list? You know, what are the things that are going to set us apart that will make our customer, or a customer, buy our product? And it depends on your customer segments. If you're in mass market, it's price. If you're in niche markets, it's typically much more than price. Listen, price is always a consideration. But you look at the businesses who try and compete on price, and ultimately they run out of space. Because they keep lowering their price, lowering their price, lowering their price. If you've talked to anyone who's ever done business with Walmart, they squeeze you to death. But you get into I don't know, 15,000 stores. You know, can you make it on a penny a unit? Up to you. Wendy?
I think something that you might want to add to that is not only buy from you again, it's recommend you to someone else. Because with the closets that I sell, how many people change their closets in 20 years? No one does. Or they move. But you know what? I want people to recommend us to their neighbor. That's where my sales comes from.